Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footer Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and we're back again for the final World Cup coverage episode. We're done. So, not World Cup coverage, World Cup episode in general. This will be the last podcast talking about the tournament, talking about what a mental week and a half it was. It was a pretty insane couple of weeks. Pretty insane month. Which I'm sure we'll touch on in some depth today. Today, I should say. Of course, yesterday as time of recording, but Monday, so 2 days ago when this is coming out, was the final podcast in terms of covering the actual games. So, yeah, hence why I didn't really speak about like team of the tournament or anything like that. In that podcast, that's what this podcast will be. So it was a pretty insane pretty insane month, going through every game, every match day, sitting here, staring into the camera, staring into the light every single match day for 23 match days, 22 match days even. I think it was something like a 16, 17 days in a row, which was pretty taxing, on the body and and everything like that. Of course, I got sick. You could definitely tell, especially quite early on, the voice completely went. But I found a second win and got through it all, which was great. But no, it was good. It was a really good couple of weeks, really good month even. Really grateful that I get to sit here and chat shit about every game, every day for every games. And it's pretty insane that some people actually watch it, which is even more insane to me as well. Thank you all for the support on this month. It does mean the world to me. It generally does. The growth has been pretty good as well, which is good to see. Across, of course, YouTube and TikTok and all the other socials as well. So, I do appreciate it. I do really appreciate all the growth, all the support. It does mean the world. It's been a pretty hectic, maybe 12 days on my side of things. Been pretty hectic. 12 or so days on my side of things, like I said. So seeing all the support, seeing all the good feedback about this podcast does soothe the soul ever so slightly. So I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone in that regard. Now, as we move on and as we start the actual podcast, before I do that, I'll plug everything as well. We will be, make sure you subscribe to the Two Foot Attack podcast on YouTube, notification bell, like the podcast, all that good stuff. All the relevant links are in the description on YouTube, and of course in the bios of both Instagram and Twitter. There is a link to a Linktree page where all the relevant links are there as well. So yeah, it would mean the world if you could just follow it all, even on the audio platforms, give it a 5-star rating, all that good stuff would mean the world. So this, like I said, last episode on the World Cup before we're back every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be back again, and I think we're back from next Tuesday. I don't even think I get a proper rest. No, we don't. So, or do I give myself the New Year off? Okay. I'll give myself the New Year off. I think, because there's no actual football. There's A-League to speak about, but there's no football until the 27th, and I would have meant to have recorded the podcast on the 26th during the day. So I really would have no football to speak about. So with that saying, we'll be returning. This will be the final podcast until Tuesday the 3rd of January. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That is when I'll be back. So this will be the last podcast. I'll take the New Year off. I'll take the New Year off. Take the New Year off. Take the holidays off and really recharge, and then I'll be back in full swing come the new year. So I think that's actually quite funnily enough. If I quickly look at some if I quickly look at something really quickly, that could be, if I'm not mistaken, could that be the 1 year anniversary of this podcast? I think it might be. So the first podcast was released on the 11th of January. So, oh no, on the 5th of January. Sorry, so quite of 2022. So maybe not a direct 1 year anniversary, not 1 year anniversary or a year to the day, but yeah, close enough, which is quite funny. But no, there you go. So yeah, we'll be back on the 3rd of the first Tuesday of 2023. That's when we'll be back. So yes, as we move on and as we start this off with what we're going to speak about, and we're just going to speak about the tournament. Now we're going to be going through awards that have been handed out throughout the tournament. We're also going to be going through my predictions, etc., etc. Yeah, we're going to be going through my predictions and all that good stuff. So let's kick things off. Let's actually start things with the player of the tournament. Let's kick things off with the team of the tournament. Let's start it like that. And I want to go through the team of the tournament before we go through each individual award. Now, of course, the official team of the tournament hasn't been announced by my knowledge anyway. I don't even think there is an official team of the tournament. I assume there would be, but it hasn't been announced based on what I've seen. So we will be we'll be going through my team of the tournament. Now, I've made this before I started this, so I'm not going to have to think on the spot. But I've gone with I've tried to be a little bit different in some places. I probably haven't. I've probably been very basic in a lot of places. There was one big player that I missed that I've had to shoehorn in like a bracket style position because of the system didn't allow me to put this player in. But I've gone with just formation wise, it's a 4-3-3 with a holding DM and a double pivot slightly ahead. So you could probably tell you could probably tell already who will be playing where. But yeah, let's start off in goal. And if I can be bothered to make a graphic and bring it up, then I will. If not, you're just going to have to follow it along. In goal, now there was a couple of players for this. There was a couple of players that you could have picked for in goal. Of course, the main kind of three was Bono from Morocco, Livakovic from Croatia, and Emi Martinez from Argentina. All three players had definite rights to be picked, definite rights, and had definitely could have definitely warranted their places in respective team of this tournaments around. But obviously, you look at Bono here. Of course, was a main player for Morocco in their run all the way to the semi-finals. Emi Martinez saved the penalty in the World Cup final was just incredible, was just immense. Like, of course, you think about that save from the shot from Kualamana in the last minute of the game, but also very big saves. Of course, the Garan Qual save as well springs to my mind in particular. But I've gone with Livakovic from Croatia. Now, I think the reason why I've gone with him is I just think he had the most amount of impact in a sense. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word to describe it as, but I feel like the other teams could have done what they had done without their goalkeeper. I think Croatia had to put a lot of emphasis on Livakovic's performances, and he really pushed them all the way and took them all the way to the semi-finals, and he was immense throughout this whole tournament. I think he definitely made the most saves throughout the tournament. I'm pretty sure he had something like 25 saves, 23 saves, I think. Was a menace in spot kicks as well. So if this just goes, this is something that this obviously the stats is something that I was looking at, of course, but I just from the vibes I was looking at, I just felt like Livakovic just did a little bit more than Emi Martinez. Although I think Bono, from those three, I think Bono is the clear number 3 with all due respect. I think it was between Martinez and Livakovic. I just think Livakovic did ever so slightly more, I think. And it's so tight, though. Like, it is so tight between them both. Both definitely both were probably one moment away from icing it. Like, I think funnily enough, funnily enough, Martinez conceding, because like before the final, I had Livakovic locked in, right? But despite Martinez conceding three, I felt like his stocks improved. Like, I don't know why. I felt like his stocks improved despite conceding three. Of course, the penalty saved helped. That save in the 120th minute helped as well. So it's quite funny how football works out, doesn't it? But no, I've gone with Livakovic in goal. He definitely isn't going to be playing in Croatia for much longer. I think he actually is he signed with Bayern Munich. He's signing with Bayern Munich. I don't know, but yeah, he is a massive asset to that team and was a big player in terms of their in terms of their in their tournament. Of course, they were very defensively solid as well. They only conceded I can't remember how many goals they conceded. Not many, but there you go. Let's move on. Let's go to the defense, and of course, it's a four-back formation, so pretty standard stuff. Let's go with right back and a pretty unanimous poll at right back. Of course, I can't really think of a whole lot of players you could put here. Kyle Walker played okay. Didn't play enough games. I don't think if you were to put him in that respect. Montiel, you could put Montiel there. Molina? Sorry, not Montiel. Molina, of course, the Argentinian right side of fullback. You could put him in there. I thought Jules Koundé was okay. Of course, Juranovic. He plays right back or left back. Juranovic. Of course, he was pretty good for Croatia as well. But I've gone with Ashraf Hakimi. I think that's pretty cut and dry, just superb throughout the whole tournament. I think no real kind of no real ifs or buts about that. Really, I don't think he had a I don't think he really. I don't think there was much debate, in terms of his place. Just solid, was such an asset to that Moroccan side. Was such an important player and was such a player that without him, Morocco would have a lot less, especially going forward, but defensively as well. He was very solid. Let's go to the two centre halves. Should I go? No, let's go. Let's do the left side of fullback, and then I'll move on to the two centre halves because the left side fullback's pretty easy. Theo Hernandez, cut and dry. No real debate in my books as well. Both fullbacks pretty self-explanatory. Theo Hernandez didn't actually start the first game, which is quite interesting. Of course, it was Lucas Hernandez. He of course got subbed off. Did his ACL, I believe. When Australia scored that goal, so he was subbed out and was replaced in the whole tournament with Theo Hernandez. I don't necessarily know why Theo Hernandez didn't start the first game and didn't start for France, maybe for that little bit more defensive security that Lucas Hernandez offers. Of course, Lucas Hernandez does play kind of like a centre-half at left-back type role. Theo Hernandez is more of the offensive, is more of the attacking fullback, so it is a little bit weird how they did that, but of course Theo Hernandez came in for Lucas Hernandez and played exceptionally well. Like I said, cut and dry, no real second player in that in the podium. I think it's just three Theo Hernandez's because they were he was exceptional. So let's go to the two centre halves now. There was a lot of people you could have put. A lot of people you could have put. You could have put Rafael Varane in there, spoiler. Or actually, maybe not a spoiler. You had the likes of Varane, the likes of Otamendi maybe, Gvardiol. If I want to be cheeky, put Harry Suter in there maybe, potentially, who knows. There was a lot of very talented centre halves in this. A lot of very talented centre halves that played in this World Cup. A lot of extremely talented players who definitely could put their place in there, or in their squad. Of course, you had the likes of Ibrahima Konate as well, who played a couple of games. Harry Maguire as well did very well. Even if you want to look at like the French side, Thiago Silva was very good. But I've gone with my two. And one of them cut and dry in my opinion. The other one, as I drop my phone, the other one potentially a little bit controversial, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. On the right side, or on the left side of centre half, I've got Josko Gvardiol. pretty self-explanatory for me. He was exceptional this whole tournament. Unbelievable for Croatia. He just was fantastic from start to finish. His only blemish, his only little blip was that goal that Messi scored against him. But it's Messi, right? Like, you can't really. It's Messi. Like, he actually did. It's funny. If you go back and watch that goal, Gvardiol does everything right. Like, he does everything right. But it's just Messi. Like, it's just Messi. He's just too good. So, he was just way too good for Messi. In that moment, that was potentially his only blemish. Scored a cracker of a goal in the third place playoff with that bullet header. He was just so good from start to finish. Just very, very, very solid. You can't really put anything past. Can't really put any blame on him. He was a massive cog for that Croatian side. And if we go to the right side centre half, and like I said, he had a lot of players. And you could call me biased if you want. I potentially don't care. I'll tell you what, you can call me biased. I potentially don't care, but I also just don't care. I'll go with Harry Suter. Now, yeah, you can call me biased or whatever, but maybe this is my team of the tournament. And that the performances from Harry Suter this World Cup is something I haven't seen from an Australian centre half ever, from an Australian player ever. Like, it was just unbelievable. Like, he was so good. Like, he was really, really good. We all know that tackle against Tunisia in the second game. His ability to shut out Cornelius in that Denmark game was fantastic, and he was so solid in that game against Argentina as well. France, I mean, it's France, right? They got all the way to the final and were spot kicks away from winning the World Cup, so you can't really put a whole bunch of blame on him for losing that, but or for losing that battle against Olivier Giroud. But I just thought he was exceptional. Yeah, I was really, really pleased. He won't be at Stoke for much longer. Guaranteed that. I think this is his final season for Stoke, regardless whether or not it's a January move or a move in the summer. He's gone. He's not playing at Stoke anymore. And it's quite funny how he's done this with a injury record, or he's done this coming off the back of an ACL injury that has kept him out for a whole year. I remember the game, it was against Saudi Arabia at in Sydney, I think it was, where he did it. I remember looking at it and thinking, yeah, his World Cup qualification campaign's over, and his potentially his World Cup campaign's over as well. ACL gone. He came back, played one full 90 minutes of professional football for Stoke, comes into this World Cup squad and plays exceptionally well. It was so good. So good. So pleasing to see. So yeah, that was something that a lot of people were looking at, especially Australians, were like, whether or not is he going to be good enough? Is he going to come back? Will he even start? But no, he played, and I put him in my team of the tournament. Maybe a little bit unfairly. I think if Harry Suter wasn't Australian, I would probably put Rafa Varane in there, but I just think it was so good. Okay, let's move on. And I've gone with the three in midfield. One slightly deeper pivot with two slightly further ahead. And the single pivot in midfield was up to a couple of people. I think Tyler Adams definitely put his name in the hat. If the USA got a little bit further, then maybe he would have been there. Declan Rice, if England got a little bit further, he would have been in there. You had, of course, Marcelo. I thought Marcelo Brozovic was fantastic. He potentially didn't get the plaudits that a lot of people gave other players, but I thought Marcelo Brozovic was exceptional for Croatia. And then you had Sofran Amrabat as well, who was exceptional for Morocco. Really, the shining light in this the shining light in terms of what this Moroccan side. In terms of what this Moroccan side did, and then of course, you had Casemiro from Brazil, who was just a rock for that Brazilian team. Played in that single pivot alongside Lucas Paqueta in that game, and played alongside Paqueta in that game, and really was in that game, in the tournament, I should say. I'm losing train of thought. Played alongside Pacote in the tournament for Brazil and was a massive cog in that team. Now, from those six players that I've gone with, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Sofran Amrabat is my defensive midfielder. Oh, he was unbelievable. Like, he was so good. And once again, a little bit like Bono, he was one of the big shining lights of this Moroccan side. He's a player that has been just languishing around the mid-table clubs in Italy, in Belgium, in Netherlands. Started his career at Utrecht in Netherlands. That butchered that. Went to Feyenoord, Club Brugge, on loan to Hellas Verona. Went back to Club Brugge. Went to Fiorentina. Went to Hellas Verona. Back at Fiorentina. Or Fiorentina, not Fiorentina. Fiorentina. Just been playing for middling clubs around Europe. Nothing flash, nothing brilliant, but has just been so good this World Cup. Like so good this World Cup. He was that cog in that Moroccan side. They played with that 4 at the back system, which needed a single pivot alongside kind of like a 5 at the back system as well. At times he was able to drop deep in between those two centre halves and dictate tempo. He was able to play in between the lines as well with progressive passes and whatnot. So yeah, he was exceptional. So I've gone with Sofran Amrabat for my defensive midfielder. Okay, let's go to the two slightly ahead. Now, where do we start with these two players? Now, there's a lot of people you could have gone for. A lot of players you could have gone for. Of course, I've gone with two attacking midfielders, box to box / attacking midfielders. There's one notable name in this midfield that isn't present. In this midfield, but it will be explained a little bit later on. You could have gone with just some names off the top of my head. You could have gone Bruno Fernandes, could have gone Antoine Griezmann in this midfield, could have gone Enzo Fernandez, could have gone Jude Bellingham, could have gone. Who else could you have gone? Who else played fantastically? Could have gone Luka Modric, of course. Could have gone with Alexis McAllister. Could have gone with a lot of players. To fill this double pivot role. It was a role that was filled very well by a lot of different people. I thought Mateo Kovacic as well played very well for Croatia. But I've gone with the two men I've gone in midfield was Jude Bellingham and Enzo Fernandez. Now, there's obviously that one name missing, where a lot of people who have played this formation have put a player, and that player is, of course, Antoine Griezmann, but he will be mentioned a little bit later. Bellingham, we'll touch on Bellingham before Enzo. Bellingham was so good this tournament. Like, I've said this about every player, but he was just exceptional from start to finish. He proved his worth in that first group game against Iran, scored the goal. Scored a goal or two, not quite sure, but he definitely scored a goal, scored a brilliant header, and was just such a key cog. Was just so good for that English team, pushing forward in between the lines, making those third man runs, pushing players deep, pushing the back line deep, ensuring that depth, making those third man runs into the box, but also being so defensively solid as well, being able to pick up the ball from deep. Something which I noticed, he was able to pick the ball up from deep and drive forward, take a few men out of the game, was very comfortable on the ball, was more than comfortable distributing as well. He was exceptional. He was very good, and he's one of the reasons why I think England had the luxury of playing that 4-2-3-1 system, or that 4-3-3 system. Now, of course, a lot of people were wondering whether or not they go with a 3 or whether they go with a 4. I think with this 4 at the back system, you need a player who's able to pick the ball up from deep and drive at the defence and really kind of be defensively solid whilst also being very good attackingly. And I think that's one of the reasons why we saw it a little bit at the Euros with Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips was that player, but Bellingham is just that little bit better. Maybe not defensively wise. Phillips probably is a little bit more capable, being based on the fact that he's actually like a natural defensive midfielder. But Bellingham being able to carry the ball forward, having a brilliant physical presence, as yawned for some reason. Has a brilliant physical presence. Very tall, very quick off the mark. Like he's got that 1, 2, 3 yard stride, or that 3 strides where he's very good, can cover a lot of ground. And I just thought he was exceptional. Just thought he was so good. Whether or not he goes to Liverpool or Real Madrid or wherever, but I don't think he'd be staying at Borussia Dortmund much longer. Now let's go with the other player, Enzo Fernandez, of course, the winner of the Young Player of the Tournament award. I just thought he was exceptional. I just thought he was so good. Now he played in like a single pivot, but also played slightly further up. Currently playing at Benfica, of course. He was just so good. Like just really good. Played all 7 games, started 5 of them, and was just such a important player for that Argentinian team, kind of pushing the defense, pushing the opposition midfielder around, being very proactive in his positioning, being very aggressive in his positioning. He averaged at 3.1 tackles per game, 1 clearance per game, which goes so defensively he was very good. 4.4 ground duels won per game as well. Only committed 1 foul a game as well. So he is very clean in the tackle, very strong in the tackle. Nearly 1 key pass per game, 1 big chance created throughout the tournament. And for a player that not a lot of people knew, for a player that kind of went under the radar in a sense for a lot of the tournament, he really showed, especially in that back end of the tournament, just how good he was and just how good he can be. He was one of Argentina's key players, especially when he especially towards the back end of the tournament where he started a few more games and was far more of a important player rather than just a bit part player. Started the Poland game and then the 4 knockout stage games. So yeah, there you go. Enzo Fernandez is my secondary midfielder. Let's go across to the front 3 with the left, right, and striker. Left winger, right winger, and striker. Now, for me, there's no debate here. There's no debate. No debate for the wingers. Now, if you want to speak about potential players, of course, I thought Bukayo Saka was very good. I thought Cody Gakpo was very good. Of course, Messi and Mbappe were the 2 players. 2 players as well who were fantastic. I thought Di Maria was good for the games he played. Who else could you put? I'm not quite sure for the wingers. Of course, strikers, there was a lot. Obviously, Giroud was a player who played very well. Julian Alvarez was a player that played very well. But I've gone with, on the right-hand side, Lionel Messi. On the left-hand side, Kylian Mbappe. And a striker, I've gone with Olivier Giroud. Now, Giroud comes with an asterisk. Giroud comes with a little bit of a bracket because Antoine Griezmann, I think, is a player that deserves a place in this team. I just couldn't find a way to put him in. Because it's based on system, like he's not a midfielder, he's not a number 8, he's a 10, and he's not a striker either. So, and I can't put him on the wings instead of Mbappe or Messi. So I put him in brackets next to Giroud. But if we need Griezmann in this squad, he can play up front, or he can play in the Enzo Fernandez position. But I've gone with Mbappe, Messi, and Giroud. Now Mbappe, Messi, I don't think they need any explanation. Just so good from both of them from start to finish. Mbappe scored nice and early, so did Messi. Both got off the mark pretty strongly and both finished the tournament very strongly as well. It was a magical moment seeing them go head to head in the final. Kind of anything you can do, I can do better type thing. They were. It was the master and the apprentice. It was the old star with the young prodigy, and the torch. While it wasn't passed, of course, it would have been firmly passed if Mbappe got the chocolates in the final, I should say. It was a very fitting moment to see Messi and Mbappe share the biggest stage one last time. I think Mbappe definitely has the potential to rival the likes of the greatest of all time. I genuinely do think that he has everything and more. has every attribute and some in order to rival some of the biggest players, some of the best players to ever play the game. He's already got 1 World Cup to his name. He's got 11 World Cup goals. If he wins it in 2026, you'd think if Mbappe wins the World Cup in 2026, you'd think by virtue of the fact that he's won it, he definitely would have at least leveled, if not passed Miroslav Klose's record. You'd assume by then he would have had 2 or 3 Ballon d'Ors. To me, there is no reason why he can't rival some of the best to ever play the game. He definitely has that. So big shoes to fill. But no, it was Messi's tournament. It was Messi's time, and there you go. Messi did win. Messi is my right winger, Mbappe is my left winger, and then striker. Like I said, I've gone with Olivier Giroud over Julian Alvarez. Of course, it was quite funny how Olivier Giroud gets subbed off in the first half of the game. In the first half of the final, was a pretty insane substitution. Like I said in yesterday's episode, but it is what it is. It happened. I just think I don't know. I feel like I just like Giroud a little bit more than I like Alvarez. I think that's what it is. Both players had a divine right to be in this squad, no doubt. So it literally was kind of flip a coin, in my opinion. Gone with Giroud. I think Alvarez was exceptional throughout the tournament as well, especially in the final. His work in the final has gone really unnoticed, but I thought it was fantastic. So I guess there you go. But I've gone with Giroud. I'll go with Giroud as my striker. But Antoine Griezmann as well gets a little bit of a shout out in this part as well. But that is my team. Let's go run through it one more time. You have Livakovic in goal, a back four of Ashraf Hakimi, Harry Schutter, Josko Gvardiol, and Theo Hernandez. Sofral Amrabat sitting in the base of midfield, just ahead of Jude Bellingham, or just behind Jude Bellingham and Enzo Fernandez. Kylian Mbappe on the left, Lionel Messi on the right, and Olivier Giroud up front, with Griezmann as well. So let's go through my awards. Let's go through my predictions. This is where we predict. This is where we react to my predictions. So before the tournament, I did dark horse, breakout player, golden boot, golden ball, overperformer, underperformer. So let's go through them, shall we? Let's start with the player specific awards. I went breakout player. I went Cody Gakpo. I think I give that a small dub. I'll give myself a small dub. Not bad. Obviously, it was fantastic. Was Netherlands' top goal scorer. Was very, very good for them throughout the tournament. Playing in this number 10/striker role, was very deadly in front of goal as well. So I've gone with Cody Gakpo as the breakout player. I'll give myself a small dub for that one. Although I'll put in brackets Enzo Fernandez in terms of Enzo Fernandez obviously won the Young Player of the Year award. So if anyone said Enzo Fernandez, that would be the ultimate dub. But I'll give myself a small dub for saying Cody Gakpo. Let's go to... Should we do Golden Ball or Golden Boot? Let's go Golden Boot. Let's go top goal scorer. Of course, the top goal scorer was Kylian Mbappe. And I went with... this. It's weird how I cover this sport. The closest thing I have to a job is covering this sport on a near daily basis. And the fact that I get this prediction so wrong is hilarious. I went with Lautaro Martinez as my golden boot. And I don't think he scored a goal the whole tournament. Of course, like I said, he was Mr. I butcher chances for like on a daily basis. So it was quite funny. I look back and realized, I put the one bloke who didn't score the whole tournament in as my golden boot winner. If you go by the SofaScore ratings, he got a 6.6, a 6.6, a 6.2, a 6, a 6.9, and a 5.8. He didn't feature in the game against Croatia. Wowee. Didn't score, had a 1.86 expected goals throughout the whole tournament. And to put that in perspective, how quite absurd that is, Julian Alvarez throughout the tournament had a 2.64 expected goals. And so he can't score, that boy, and the fact that I put him golden ball hurts a lot. But yeah, that's quite golden boot, I should say. Lautaro Martinez, thanks for embarrassing me on the world stage. Appreciate it. On the world stage, like, anyway, you know what I mean. Let's go to golden ball time. I went with Neymar. Of course, the winner was Lionel Messi. I don't hate the Neymar shot. Like I just say, Lautaro Martinez, massive L, huge L, ridiculous L, the biggest L you could possibly think of. Neymar, it's a slight L. It's a slight L. It's a 4. It's a 4 out of 10. I was pretty hopeful and pretty optimistic when Brazil go through towards the quarterfinals and versing Croatia, and when Neymar scores the goal in the 105th minute, I'm thinking, yeah, I could be on here. I could be on here, but I think the injury kind of was never going to give him the chance of winning it. But yeah, it's a shame. I'll give myself a small L for that one. Small L for that one. Not a big L, small L for that one. Okay, let's go to the team awards. Went with Dark Horse, Overperformer, Underachiever. And then we'll go through my group by group predictions. My group by group and then knockout stage predictions. Let's go Dark Horse. I went with Serbia. Oh god, this is just getting worse, isn't it? No, you know what? This actually, I know what my other two predictions are for biggest overperformer and underachiever. Anyways. We're going to go with, so Serbia put as my dark horse. I think the dark horse for the tournament, Morocco by far. Serbia, didn't win a game. Finished last with 1 point. And were just abysmal. Put it frank, we're just abysmal. That's a massive shame. Massive shame. But thanks Mitro and Dusan and all the boys. Thanks for doing that for me. But I had Serbia as my dark horse. They were appalling. They were shocking. Shame. They're the Turkey of the World Cup. They're the European Championship version of Turkey in the World Cup. Let's go see overperformers and underperformers. For those who have good memories, or for those who know what I'm going to say now. Oh God. Okay. So which one is more embarrassing? I don't know. I think the overperformers are more embarrassing, to be honest. So I'll start with my underperformers. And my prediction for the start of the tournament was for the team that I had to underperform were France. France, of course. I'm not sure if you know. I'm not sure. I'll just catch it. I'll catch everyone up. Spoiler alert. France actually made the World Cup final, and we're a penalty shootout away from being the first team to retain the trophy since 1950. So that happened. I guess you could say I was slightly wrong on that one. That is just like Serbia, massive L for me for that one. And then biggest overperformers, probably even a bigger L. I had Qatar. For those who don't know about Qatar's World Cup campaign, they finished bottom of their group with 0 points. They conceded 6 goals. No, they conceded 7 goals, scored once. Were the quickest team to get knocked out. Were the quickest host nation to get knocked out of the World Cup group stage. We're only the second nation ever to be knocked out. The second ever host nation to be knocked out at the group stage. So once again, I think you could say I got that slightly wrong, just slightly wrong. I wasn't that far off. I was only them winning a game, winning two games, and basically reversing their whole tournament away from being right. But that's a. Yeah, massive L. A huge L for that. That is so funny. That's actually unbelievably funny how ridiculous that is. I had Serbia dark horse, who didn't get out of the group and got 1 point. I had France underperformers, who finished top of their group and made it all the way to the World Cup final and lost on penalties. And I had Qatar, who didn't get a point and scored 1 goal for the whole tournament, as my overachievers. That is hilarious. That is actually the funniest thing ever. Okay, let's go to group by group predictions, and we'll wrap this up pretty soon. We're just going to go through the group by group predictions, giving it a rating out of 10. I think I did this at the group stage, after the group stage, so apologies if this is slightly different, but there you go. Group A, I had Netherlands, Qatar, Senegal, Ecuador. Of course, that ended Netherlands, Senegal, Qatar, or Ecuador, Qatar. I'll give myself a 5 out of 10 for that one. I had England, USA, Iran, Wales, 10 out of 10. Everything right there. I had Argentina, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Poland. I'll give myself 5 out of 10 for that one. That, of course, ended Argentina, Poland, Mexico, Saudi Arabia. I had Argentina, I had Denmark, Australia, France, Tunisia. That, of course, ended France, Australia, Tunisia, Denmark. I'll give myself a 6 for that one. So I had Spain, Germany, Japan, Costa Rica. That, of course, ended Japan, Spain, Germany, Costa Rica. Yeah, I think so. I'll give myself a 5 for that one. I had Belgium, Croatia, Canada, Morocco. That, of course, ended Morocco, Croatia, Belgium, Canada. I'll give myself a 5 for that one as well. I'm very middling with all of these predictions. Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. That, of course, ended Brazil. That, of course, ended Brazil. No, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. That, of course, ended Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, Serbia. I'll give myself a 4 just because of how confident I was for Serbia on that one. And then I had Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea, Ghana. That, of course, ended Portugal top. That ended Portugal top, did it? Didn't it? I swear it did. Yeah, Portugal, South Korea, Uruguay, Ghana. I'll give myself a 7 for that one. Because Uruguay and South Korea were the only teams. Okay. So that means I had my round of 16 predictions were Netherlands, USA. Tick. Tick for that one. And I had Netherlands going through. So double tick for that. I had Argentina, Australia. And I had Argentina going through. Double tick for that. I've got 2 predictions spot on. How good. Now this is where shit hits the fan. I had England versus Qatar. That, of course, was England versus Senegal. But I did have England going through, which is okay. Then I had Denmark versus Mexico. That game was, of course, France versus Poland. But I did have the Group D winners beating the Group C runners-up. So I guess that's a quarter of a point. I had Spain, Croatia. That game, of course, was Japan versus Croatia, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. But I had Spain going through. No, I had Spain going through, which was wrong. So maybe a 1/5 of a point for that one. I had Brazil versus Uruguay, which of course was Brazil versus South Korea. Yeah, I had Brazil going through, so not bad for that one. I had Germany versus Belgium. That game, of course, was Spain versus Morocco, and I had Germany going through, which meant that is the worst prediction I've. That's the worst prediction. That's the worst prediction. That is by far the worst prediction. I had Portugal versus Serbia, which ended up being Portugal versus Switzerland, and Portugal won that, so that was okay, I guess. No, I had Serbia going through. Oh, good God. Okay. Quarterfinals, I had Argentina versus Netherlands, which was right, and I had Argentina going through, which is great. Brazil versus Spain, which of course would have been Brazil versus Croatia. I had Brazil going through, which of course Croatia did over Spain. I had England versus Denmark, which was England versus France. I had England going through, France went through. I had Germany versus Serbia, which was what was that game? Who did France versus? France versus Morocco. So that would have been, I had Germany versus Serbia. So that would have been Morocco versus Portugal. Morocco versus Portugal. And I had Germany going through. So at least I got Portugal getting knocked out. I had Argentina versus Brazil, which was Argentina versus Croatia. I had Brazil going through, so I guess that's an L for that one. And I had England versus Germany, which of course ended up being France versus Morocco, which was another L there. I had England going through, and then I had England versus Brazil final, and I had England winning the World Cup, which of course didn't happen. Argentina won that game against France. L. Massive L, huge L. That is ridiculously bad. That is so funny. But yeah, no, there you go. They're my World Cup predictions. There's me reacting to my World Cup predictions. Okay, there you go. World Cup 2022 done. No more. Been a massively insane tournament full of storylines, full of unbelievable games, unbelievable goals, unbelievable moments. Potentially the best tournament ever, best World Cup tournament ever, one of anyway. Yeah, it was a massively beautiful tournament in terms of the football. It was unbelievable. So we want to say about the hosts, of course, we all know what the true thoughts on that are. We all know what happened, what is the go with the hosts, etc. But yeah, it was a beautiful tournament of football. A really, really good tournament for football. Just beautiful. Beautiful from start to finish. First game was funny. Last game was enthralling. In my opinion, the greatest World Cup I've ever seen. It was insane, and I'm very grateful to have been covering it all on this podcast every single day. It's been an insane ride. It's been an insane ride. It's been insane. It's been mental, but it's been so fun. Wouldn't change it for the world. So we're all done. We're all done for the World Cup coverage for 2022. Insane. That's the word which I'll just describe this whole tournament. Insane. I don't think I need to say anything more. Thank you very much for joining me along this journey. It's been a massive support, massively appreciate everyone who's stuck around. If you are new, if this is your first podcast, make sure you subscribe, like I said at the start of the podcast. If you have joined along this World Cup journey and you've stuck around, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll be back in the new year. I'll take the holiday and New Year's period off. We'll be back on the 2nd or the 3rd of January. I'm not quite sure. Quickly get the FOTMob app out. We'll be back on the 3rd of January. Tuesday the 3rd of January, 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be back. But for now, speak to you guys very soon. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. It means the world. Make sure you share it around, give it all the love I think it deserves. See you all in a couple of weeks. Have a Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Have a happy holiday period in general. Have a fantastic New Year. May your days be merry and bright, as they say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. See you guys in the new year. Speak soon. Goodbye.